In this video, we're going to discuss the most heartbreaking event that can ever happen in a gamer's life. Even more terrifying than being on a tie-breaking competitive match in Overwatch to have your healer switch to Sombra. Today, we're going to talk about video game cancellations.
Hold on to your butts.
Hi, I'm Telkiney, the Nerd Navigator, and today I want to talk to you about the most devastating video game cancellations of all time. Some video game cancellations break our hearts after we've actually been able to play a demo of them. Others we were invested throughout the development. Some just teased us about their existence. But to start out this list of games, I'm going to talk about a game that we didn't even know existed until we heard about this cancellation through leaked gameplay footage. The only footage existing today to the public is gameplay footage characterized as pre-alpha, but show us a video of what could have been a very unique Marvel game using a first-person view in which you could actually be the Hulk smashing and punching aliens and using concussive claps, or fly around as Iron Man, shooting your repulsors, having a force field, or parkouring around as Captain America and tossing your shield around. Each hero looked to have different gameplay elements suited to their iconic abilities. This appeared to be a standalone game, not some trashy movie tie-in that we had come to expect from many of the Marvel games we've seen. Excluding you, Spider-Man. We love your games. Bruce Campbell voice tutorials and all.
Well, sequel time already, huh? Welcome back, I guess. I'm sure you miss me more than I missed you.
The villains in this Avengers game were Skrulls, an alien race that has yet to appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, although has shown up in various Marvel cartoon series. Now, what was very interesting to me was that there were even Super Skrulls, some of which even had X-Men powers, such as those that appeared in the Secret Invasion comic event. This would have been a fantastic story arc to explore. Sadly, we'll never know, because it was canceled. Next is a recent cancellation that came at perhaps the worst time for one of the consoles in this current generation. Scalebound was a game that looked like a mashup of Monster Hunter meets Devil May Cry. You would fight enemy soldiers as well as huge monsters alongside a companion dragon whom you would issue commands to and even at times fly with. The game looked gorgeous, and at a time when PlayStation has exclusives like Horizon Zero Dawn and Nioh released, the Xbox One really needed a new IP like Scalebound. Yet for some reason, it was canceled. They had demos at game conferences running, so it's hard to understand why something would be canceled that far into the development cycle, but there you have it. Now we'll never know what it's like to own a dragon. No, Toothless, not you. No. The next canceled game had me super pumped when the gameplay was shown of it. Star Wars 1313 looked like it would be an Uncharted gameplay style set in the Star Wars universe. I was giddy for this game. I'd take any excuse to get into the Star Wars universe, and this looked like the first game in a long time for Star Wars that might actually be good. Please keep in mind that this was before the newest Star Wars Battlefront game had been shown. It didn't hurt that the game was about bounty hunters, taking me back to nostalgic games like Shadows of the Empire, which I played for so long. Not that games about Jedi are bad, just there is an abundance of them. Canceling this game was an incredibly bad call, and we all missed our chance to dive into this wretched hive of scum and villainy. Now, the first game cancellation I personally can ever remember was for Ultima World's Online Origin, which definitely was too long of a title. The community knew it as Ultima Online 2. It was to be a sequel to Ultima Online and was announced shortly after Everquest had launched in 1999. What was notable about UO2 was the stunning 3D graphics and animation shown in the one gameplay video that was ever released to the public. This was not only a huge contrast to the original Ultima Online, which was a top-down isometric view, but the models and animation would have blown Everquest away. Here's a comparison between Ultima Online, Everquest, and Ultima Online 2. Sadly, in 2001, it was announced that the development had canceled for UO2. History would then repeat itself with Ultima X Odyssey, which was announced in 2003. Not a lot of information was known at the time, but this one didn't shock me as much when a year later it was cancelled. EA isn't the only company to break hearts in the early 2000s. Even a great company like Blizzard has teased us with delicious content only to turn around and disappoint. The first notable cancellation from Blizzard that I remember was Starcraft Ghosts, which was announced in 2002. Boy, did Blizzard tug at our heartstrings from the start, with the game's trailer featuring narration by Peter Optimus Prime Cullen. The game was beautiful for its time and was set as a stealth action game and was to feature the appearance of the now iconic StarCraft character, Nova. The game was set for console release, but faced multiple delays, even switching development studios. During the 2005 E3, it was even re-announced, air quotes, and eventually in 2006, Blizzard let us know development for this anticipated title would be postponed indefinitely. Then, in 2007, speculation began for another Blizzard project, for a completely new IP that was rumored to be another MMORPG to follow the success of World of Warcraft. Very little was known at first, but more and more information began to leak over the years. In 2011, Blizzard's COO Paul Sams was quoted in an interview saying that Project Titan was playable and praised that it would eclipse the success that they had had with World of Warcraft. However, in 2013, the president of Blizzard stated that the focus of Titan had been shifted and it was likely not to be a subscription-based MMORPG. Then, in 2014, information was released that Titan had been canceled. The one upside for this cancellation is that the massively popular shooter called Overwatch likely was born out of this cancellation, with some concepts and assets that were planned for Titan making their way to Overwatch instead. This last cancellation was the worst for me personally. While information that was being developed had been out there, I was not on board this game's hype train completely and fully until the fateful day of August 2nd, 2013 at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, when Dave Jordson of Sony Online Entertainment walked on stage in front of a live stream and unveiled for the first time to the public gameplay footage of Everquest Next. I was hooked. Dave talked about revolutionizing the MMORPG industry, breaking limits, and implementing exciting mechanics. From an ambitious class and ability system that would seem to have mixtures of some of the best elements from games such as Guild Wars 2, in which wielding different weapons would result in different abilities that you could use, in Final Fantasy XIV, in which you can have all of the classes in one character which you could switch between. But Everquest Next didn't stop there. Not only could you switch between 40 some classes that they were adding to the game, but you could mix and match different abilities from those classes as you leveled them to create a whole different character unique to any other, which they were calling multi-classing. They showed off exactly how detailed and expressive characters would be by utilizing their patented SO emote. The cleverness of this branding always gets me. They showed off how the hair and clothing systems would be a dynamic, realistic movement system affected by wind and character movements. They had a parkour-like movement system they called heroic movement that they added to make the journey from point A to point B more exciting and fun. Different classes would even have different movement abilities on top of the parkour system, such as teleports and leaps. And then even items would provide other movement options, like a pair of boots that would allow you to glide while jumping from great heights. Just talking about these systems reinvigorates that sense of excitement in me. And then that feeling of dread when the logic side of my brain reminds me, as you know, from it being on this list, that the video game was canceled. And while great, none of the aforementioned systems was what was going to set Everquest Next apart from other games already out. No, what was going to set it apart was a dynamic world that was completely destructible using a voxel-based technology. You could literally dig holes, knock down walls and trees, you name it, and you could use it strategically in battle. They were going to introduce a true AI system, which monsters in the world would not be statically spawned or even scripted, but would be giving a set base of behaviors and goals and set out into the world. All of these systems would accumulate into what would amount to my dream MMORPG, a living world, void of limits. On top of all that, They promised an open development dialogue between developers and fans at an unprecedented level for a game at their stage of development. And they followed through with that promise too, until things started going bad, when on February 2nd, 2015, the Sony Online Entertainment division of Sony was sold to an investment management firm, which transformed the game development company into Daybreak Games. I'm sorry, that was wrong, my bad. Daybreak Games. Shortly after, staff reductions and management changes started to occur as the investment firm started trimming the budget. People began to speculate for the future of Everquest Next's development. However, in June of 2015, it was announced that Daybreak Games had shifted more assets over to focus on the development for Everquest Next. But that hope was short-lived, as on March 11th, 2016, Daybreak Games announced development for Everquest Next had been canceled. Needless to say, my heart was broken. This concludes my list of most heartbreaking cancellations. I'd like you to leave a comment and tell me if you know of any video games that were canceled that you were looking forward to. I'd like to end this video with not your standard please subscribe, like, and all that junk. You all know what you can do, and you're capable of choosing without me begging you to. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.